Uh-oh. I think we're live. Yeah, so yeah, Giuliani lost his job.
Well, I'll say prayer for her.
Yeah. It's the most evil people you got to pray for. You know?
Come on, man. He's America's mayor.
It's America's mayor. I liked him for like 2 days.
Well, you know how he became America's mayor? A picture of him holding up a mask to his mouth, leaving probably wherever he, the whatever office he was in, going out into the streets, dust in the air, and it was the man. It was it. It was a perception, and at
I
that
liked him.
point, yeah, at that point, you got who you got, and you got to hope they got good advisors.
Yeah, he was pretty tough walking down that street all covered in soot.
Yeah, I think though it affected his brain
That was
somehow.
impressive. That was the only time he ever impressed me.
But that could be somebody that's impetuous and doesn't understand the ramifications of doing what he was doing, which may look impressive, but it could be the opposite. It could be like that was in deference. At least put it around your ears when you're going out, so you can wave your hands without pulling it away and talking. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing normal about that day, so special dispensation to a degree, I suppose.
I think Borat set him up, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Wow. You can look, anybody can look that up. That was, you know, he's laying back in the bed, reaching into his pants to, I guess, to get comfortable. I don't know. I mean, I forget what his excuse was, but, and even that, it's sort of like being that kind of jerk doesn't necessarily mean he can't govern either. I try to compartmentalize things. It means he shouldn't be in a position to, perhaps, but it doesn't mean he can't. Seriously, I could be as good a legislator as anybody if I had a really stellar team of experienced people who know how shit worked. You know, I tried, I ran. Okay. 2038 votes agreed with me.
You
Everybody
can,
should do that one time,
you
really.
can run. Get your issues
Hundreds.
out there.
Well, I ran with lots of reasons not to run. The only thing that made it possible was is neither of the other candidates would give a shit about me. And they wouldn't even care if they to count and verify my signatures. And I needed 100. I had 165. Pretty sure that would have been good if they were counted. But I'm the guy that was driving around with an inspection sticker that had a dog hair between it and the windshield, because that's what happens when you take one off a car with a heat gun, bring it over ready to put on, and you have a dog. That's not like. I remember I went to a New York festival, and when I saw Rob Robinson, I hadn't talked to him since then, and he was amazed. And the first thing he said to me is, "You running for state senate? How many ways do you think they could take you down, make you look silly?" I go, "At least three, you know." Um, but I knew they wouldn't bother, and it was just kind of fun. I mean, it was priceless sitting down right next to Andy Cecil, the man who ignored me and we never met in years, not like months, years. And to embarrass him on a debate that was seen on Comcast, he looked pretty bad.
I have a story here. Older adults who haven't smoked weed in decades may not realize that today's cannabis is much more potent, according to Dr. Nathan Stahl, Ontario. CNN says one may think young people are the main group enjoying the freedom of legalized weed, but in Canada, the greatest increase in users after legalization was among older adults, and sometimes it's sending them to the hospital. The rate of emergency department visits for cannabis poisoning in older adults October 18 through December 22, significantly higher than that of pre-legalization, according to a letter in JAMA. Edibles,
Really?
yeah, edibles.
And what were, there's no way they're going to say, but okay, if somebody wasn't prepared, I can see that happening in more than a few people probably. And that's significantly different. I lived through all the different types from crap to now. But what would be the outcome like the next day? What was the worst thing in everybody's life the next day compared to so many other things that aren't getting the attention cause people in their life,
Let's see.
Like,
It says
really? Yeah, I was having trouble breathing for a second.
when people have cannabis poisoning, according to Stahl, they may experience confusion, psychosis, hallucinations, anxiety, panic attacks, rapid heartbeat, chest pain, nausea, and vomiting.
Nausea and vomiting. Oh. Well, I would just say vomiting would indicate that you had nausea.
You can dry heave. What about the dry heaves?
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, you're not really puking; you're just dry heaving.
Yeah. Well, it took being on opiates, which made me nauseous when I got real hurt, to be able to vomit without expressing it audibly. And I was real proud of myself. I could do that then. And I did get to do that one time when asked how Zofran was working, and I actually vomited right before I could answer the question. I had to grab my thing and get sick. And the fun part was it was a doctor with like the little ducklings in white lab coats that follow him around while he's doing stuff with people. I guess they're interns. But a couple of them chuckled when I said, well, I appreciate you able to get me the second best antiemetic that I know about, which led to the question, how's it working? And I threw up and had tears in my eyes, but it wasn't loud. You learn a lot from being in a hospital,
Shout out to Jimmy Good on Instagram. Jimmy Good, watching out there in Instagram world. Jimmy's the one who told me to get the talking traffic light. He made me less ignorant. Thank you, Jimmy, for making me less ignorant in this world. I was super ignorant until then. So going back to this story here, during the 8-year study period, there were over 2,300 emergency department visits for cannabis poisoning in older adults who were age 69 on average. 17% of those adults were simultaneously intoxicated with alcohol, 38% had cancer, 6.5% had dementia, compared with pre-legalization. They saw a twice higher rate of emergency department visits for cannabis poisoning. The rate during the second legalization period tripled of pre-legalization. Okay.
Well, it's if it tripled, what was the amount of new first-time or senior users? Because if that went up 10 times and hospital admissions went up 3 times, that's a plus. I mean, that's a fewer percentage of people using it going to emergency rooms. So that makes headway. And by that, you could say that the more people, the less percentage it'll be. But mostly, with it being legal, I would assume they're being warned about that. So I would hope that would slow that down. You want to try it and wait for a little bit, especially with, edibles. The education needs to be there.
Today's cannabis extracts contain as much as 30 times more THC. Older adults who may not have used cannabis in decades are now trying it again in the post-legalization era, and they may not be aware how strong it is.
It seems like it's the post legalization era, so they should be more informed because they're not looking over their shoulder for information, and it's legal, so they're whose fault is that? Is that people like our fault? Because I know that when I went through the process becoming a patient, and I had like an orientation, which was real fun, because there were people there though that they were being informed of exactly this, and I hear that happens with like even aspirin, people dying from taking too much aspirin. So I just I just think it certainly kind of gets singled out. I mean, nobody would have to try to convince anybody about that. I was just explaining to Kathy how the DEA, the enforcement agency, is the one in charge of the rules up until now. And now with the FDA, the health organization, Food and Drug, are the people leading the way to reclassification. They haven't been made to do anything. Um, they are the ones that had to help get the DEA to the table and realize they don't really have a choice and it's going to be bad. But now the DEA will hold it up as long as they can. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice to live in a country where we have laws being made, where we have an enforcement agency who enforces the rules, and a health agency who makes the rules when it has to do with health? Yet we do that ass backwards here. It's a bad look. The Drug Enforcement Agency making rules, and then that I forget what their longest delay tactic was, but it was well over 2 years where they had to answer a legal challenge, and they waited 2 years to answer it, and there's nothing anybody could do because there was no time limits, because they didn't put time limits on themselves when they made the rules. It's not like the fox watching the hen house. It's like the fox building the hen house and then watching it. Anyway.
Some people who intentionally consume cannabis edibles may not be aware that this form has a more delayed effect than an inhalant, which goes straight to the bloodstream. Thinking the edible isn't working, they take another one too and end up getting more than they bargained for.
This stuff's not on the package. It's not given to that. That's what should happen when it was illegal, where people weren't fully informed. I just think it is that unwillingness to take direction seriously like that, even if you do hear it. What's it gonna do? And there is a difference between a really high THC content of today and the barely illegal, of the if somebody was in college when I was in college, they could not have used it for 50 years.
There are also people whose prescription medications for pain management, insomnia, or dementia are ineffective. So they consume edibles for therapeutic purposes, but without consulting their doctor first. Abstaining from cannabis use may be appropriate for some individuals, but I would be hesitant to give a blanket recommendation that no other adults should be using this, because there are people who are going to use it even if that recommendation is given.
Yeah.
Preventing
what you're saying, people don't listen.
Preventing cannabis-related harms in older adults requires a multi-pronged approach, including storing cannabis edibles in locked locations and in clearly identified packaging, like Haney's flags. See, I got Haney's flag right here. We need Haney's flag. Haney's flag for your edibles.
I used to use that. They would come in the form of a question a couple decades ago, and still apparently. Where would you keep marijuana if it were legal and there were kids around or whatever? I'd say I'd lock it up the same way you lock up your prescription medicine. Why don't you tell me where you do that? Because many do not. It's like I would think it'd be a fine thing, you know. I remember I was gonna start a thing where you could get like a cheap ass locking thing for medicine that fits in a medicine cabinet and screws into the back, you know, and then it has a lock. And then people would say like, well, that could easily be, you know, broken into. And I'm like, yeah, but you'd know somebody broke in. You wouldn't have to count your medicine. You wouldn't know it was missing, or maybe you miscounted or made a mistake yourself. And then I thought they were so cheap that I could offer them free and say to like local radio, yeah, next caller, you get a free one. Jill be on his way. Oh, and I go out and I put it in. But it's all based on where would you lock your medicine up? And I don't know. It's a farce. I mean, we know it, but it's a logical question. You know, you can't just not say the obvious. You know. Oh yeah, and I noticed they didn't say one of the things that would need to be done was to clearly explain that on packaging. You know, they didn't say here's what needs to be done. You know, they're underinformed, and then they didn't say we need to inform them. That shows being disingenuous about the whole thing. You know, if it was really about that, obviously it would start with information. Ignorance is no excuse.
Products that older adults intentionally use should have dosing information with specific guidance for older adults, recognizing that the amount of drug that they may need is a lot less than younger populations. In geriatric medicine, we have a mantra: start low and go slow. Start low and go slow. The amount at which cannabis can become poisonous. Poisonous?
Hey, what is it?
Poisonous can depend on multiple personal factors. Some studies have
Poisonous.
indicated. That's just what it says here. Some studies have indicated people should wait at least 3 hours before taking a second dose. Healthcare providers should also have open and judgment-free conversations with older adults about cannabis and its benefits and risks. There it is. CNN.
So if you go out to drinking bar and you have one drinks, now you're no longer exactly comfortable. Are you poisoned now? Have you been poisoned? But one drink previously, you haven't been poisoned? This is entertaining.
Poison! That weed is poison! I've never heard the term poison with cannabis before. Thank you, CNN, for that. Good job, CNN.
No, yes, of course we have. Yes, we have. Every time they say that someone overdosed and that they were called to the Poison Control Center, oh yeah, that's, you know, same nonsense. Well, someone ate some edibles and they didn't mean to. They were poisoned. No, you. That's like if you go to drink your glass of grape juice, turns out it was wine. Have you been poisoned?
Yes.
Not if you drink wine. Anyway, very strange semantics.
So I know there's been some talk to legislators. There's been some meetings about the price cap bill, the home grow bill. There's some moving and shaking going on here in New Jersey. Glad
How
to
do you
see.
know that?
Well, Kristen was going to meet with some people. And I think that happened this week. I'm going to go to that meeting and find out more about that.
I'm confused.
Yeah, there's been a meeting apparently with Kristen and some legislator.
Yeah, it's to not know who. To know who would mean like kind of everything. But
I forget.
Any meeting is good if, depending on what the purpose of the meeting and lowest common denominator discussed was. In other words, if it doesn't involve having the first hearing, what kind of conversation is it? Like getting people to support something that can't get to a hearing shouldn't be the main focus of any conversations now. I would think it should always be getting to the first hearing, because if it's not doing that, the rest is irrelevant. You know, first journey, single step. So anyway, obviously you have to make plans beyond the hearing, but having that done before the summer recess was important, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, although it could. It doesn't look like it's gonna. So if we're looking for people who are going to vote for it, or maybe they'll co-sponsor a bill, it's not going to be heard. 1/3 of the time left in this session is going to be not anything going on right up until after the election, starting with the summer vacation, which ends as soon as they get the budget set as must be done by constitutional rules on the end of June. So basically, they're going to be out July, August, September, and October, and part of November. You know, the math doesn't look good when that happens. And then, you know, it's like they're just taking a knee and running the clock out again, maybe. You don't know. So I'm concerned about that. It'll be interesting to see who the talk was with and what the point was, and the assessment of what their assessment is of the meeting, you know, post-mortem.
Oh, she had a meeting with Sarlo.
You know, the question that people like Sarlo and others would know that we don't know is the speaker in the lower chamber, Assemblyman Coughlin, is he good with this being brought up in the committee that it's in, the FOR committee? Yeah. That's all. I mean, in other words, in the Senate, it's being stopped by the Senate president. His counterpart in the Assembly is Assemblyman Coughlin, without saying anything on what I think he is or isn't doing. The question is fair. Is he allowing the head of that committee to post it for a hearing, have it posted for hearing? Is that allowed where it's not in the Senate? And being as the head of the committee as a co-sponsor, I think we know the answer to that question. Yeah, he'd like to post it, and it's not getting posted. What's up? All good questions. I don't get to ask them, anybody that knows them. I think it was maybe like 3 years ago, the last time somebody said, "Hey, Jim, you want to be at that meeting?" No, and actually it was 2 years ago. Joe Vitelli. It worked out real well.
Yeah, so they got budget hearings coming up all month of June.
Yeah, that's why you wanted this done in May.
Yeah.
The hearing. They still have time to post it. There should be at least one hearing in that committee. They had one on the 13th. So it means maybe there should be at least one more. But it won't, because so many people made so many other things the objective that, if I may say, there was no big overall concerted push to make sure this bill was even heard. You know, there's a lot of other things going on. Psychedelics took a lot of attention away. You know, I mean, some people, you know, you want to find where you belong and all, and it's something that needs to happen as well. I'm less than impressed. I mean, not with us. We impress me all the time.
There was talk about petitioning the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Yep.
About the scheduling.
Well, that will happen. The coalition is of the mind, and, you know, to a degree, I kind of feel the same, that we should wait to do that until it's actually Schedule 3 or an absolute firm. It's, okay, 60-day waiting period and nothing can stop it. At that point, they should be petitioned, but nobody seems to think that, yes, how about we get whatever is the petitioning done properly so somebody has it. You don't have to file it when it's ready. It's not like we're all done. We've proofread it. We like it. Now we have to submit it. You don't. Submit it when it's, but then what we'll do is wait till we want to submit it and then start the process that, should already have an overlapping effect, not a consecutive sort of thing, It's easy for me to say because I'm not the one doing it. And, I got to look at it through that lens too. So I don't know what it takes, but Ken's done it with Ed Hahnemann a couple of times, I think twice. And it seems like at some point, I'd like the idea of petitioning them so that they can get ready with their answer in the lead up to it having its first initial date of being Schedule 3 officially, that they would not be left having to do the work and look as ignorant as they are as we then begin considering it Schedule 3 and all that entails while the state says it has no known medical use. They really at that point are going to want to change it. I mean, they should. I mean, if they're real people. I don't know.
I see nothing here on the 23rd. Not in session Thursday?
You got to check that the morning of the 23rd also. They put stuff up late sometimes maybe for a purpose. I don't know.
Well, yeah, MedMen's in the hospital. They are giving them a hard time about vaping and using cannabis in the hospital. They say, take these opiates. Take them.
That's their rules. They're certainly not going to do anything against their established protocol.
They had lots of rules that were wrong in this world, in this country.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, until it becomes painfully obvious, we don't make a concerted push to change those rules while trying to find ways around them. The fact that institutional care is the hardest place for somebody to be of any kind, including just to say a hospital, where it's needed most. And now if it goes Schedule 3 and we suggest opiates to somebody in pain, a physician, rather than cannabis first because it's safer, or with it, so you have cannabis first and the needless opiates. It's the natural course that should be, but there are people that are not going to agree with that in New Jersey either. In New Jersey, as you know, we can screw up anything, I agree with a lot of New Jersey jokes too. We are those people. Well, we can re-energize on Thursday. As always, I'll be bringing a new sign. I have to have a new sign, plus all the other ones. Have you checked the weather? I believe it's going to be pretty good.
Let's check the weather.
If we get a no windy day, the fact that they're in session is always good. I was looking, trying to get all my pictures, not all of them, in one place where I can recover them easily. And over all these years of the podcast, I'm starting as a category called where I say podcast politicians. Number 1, podcast politicians. Picture number 2, because we've talked to a lot of legislators at the podcast.
We had Ron Rice on the podcast. We had Bishop Jethro James.
Well, not even on the podcast, just at the podcast. I remember Senator Zwicker. He was a first-time assemblyman and came to one of our earliest podcasts. And I was so impressed that a guy who was a freshman, it was his first year, would come in with real interest. And, he's definitely on our side, but it was fun, and don't underestimate the fact that you've been there as a steady presence. And I don't think anybody experienced that kind of steady presence, unless you're an abortion clinic, so I think there's been a not quantum leap. It came over 10 years. You're getting taken seriously, especially since doing some of your best work simply for access for people, wheelchair access and the like. So you've built yourself quite a different brand than people were betting on 10 years ago. Got to give you credit for that.
Thanks. I'm not just a pothead. Well, maybe I am.
No, it was more that you were being accused of being a misogynist and nothing more than a shock jock, and I had to stick up for you, and I did.
That was just two uptight people.
Yep. Yeah, I know. But we're also being equally vague on purpose, but
I always focus on the two uptight people than the 98.
Well,
people.
I did. Yeah, we did see one of them at the Ed Doerr's chief of staff was one of those people, and I had to meet with her and two other people in Princeton to hash things out about you dick. No, I did. I went out on a limb. It was sort of like, it's like it's mutually exclusive. It cannot happen and keep me there because, and then all of a sudden you just blended. Now you're getting you get resolutions.
Yeah, that shut a lot of the haters up.
You got a traffic light. You got a traffic light somewhere that needed one. Find me one person any of us knows that's done that.
Yeah, we need to get a talking traffic light now. I need it retrofitted. Because I was ignorant to that. And now I'm not.
You was blind, now you can see.
Yeah, I drive past that. I drive past that traffic light every day. I go to Broadway. And I'm like, oh, this should have been a talking traffic light. And it will be someday.
You need interns.
Hey, I'll take a quorum at this point.
That's funny.
Yeah. I saw you. When I learned that. Yeah, I did learn that. Learned it the hard way. Spent years on that light. Because it was for disabled people. It was for people that were afraid to cross the street in wheelchairs and canes. And I saw a lot of old people and babies and a lot of crap going on. So, but I didn't see any blind people. But I should have known better. I should have done my due diligence. And I didn't do my due diligence. So I was ignorant. That's why I can't get mad at other people's ignorance anymore. I just can't because I was.
Yeah, see, but no, dude.
In
your own defense,
I won't.
Your due diligence has been spread out over such a large area that you have less to diligence.
I didn't go to school for this shit. I'm learning as I'm going, and I tell you what, it's been a hell of a learning curve.
Yeah, but you also, for all your faults, have the ability to learn. And as expressed by the first time, maybe a decade ago, somebody probably said something like, "Yeah, well, you're full of shit and you're responsible." Well, oh, why would you say that? It was like over your head on the insult, and just why would you say that? And it was a very disarming conversation for that person to have, I remember. Much like the guy that rode up with the keypad strapped to his bike because you call him a keypad warrior. You know,
That was funny.
Yeah, you never called anybody a keypad warrior after that. They know where you are every week, dude. You can't do that. But then you talked it out and had him on the show. It was a good one. That's how you learn, you know. I mean, if you learn by being wrong, you and me have learned a lot. You do a lot, you're wrong a lot too, you know.
You win some, you lose some. You just got to win more than you lose. That's all.
And learn from, well, the loss can be a lesson if you can see it clearly without being automatically defensive. You know, it couldn't be me entirely because, you know, I'm kind of hard on myself.
I'm super hard on myself. I'm hard on myself because, like,
I've been told. Yeah.
How about these dispensaries? They're opening up without wheelchair accessibility. We're down 100 to nothing. There's literally 100 dispensaries that opened up without us checking for wheelchair accessibility. 100.
You need
They all-
interns.
They all got to be checked.
Well, actually, could you not start by dividing up some phone calls and have people call every dispensary and simply ask that? I mean, if you needed accessibility, that would be the first thing a patient would do. I would hope. Would think, I wonder if it's accessible. Well, actually, they might not think to do that either because they'd be as surprised as you, come to think of it. However, I know when divided up calling hospice care organizations in New Jersey, and Vanessa Waltz and Marianne, oh, come on, I'm picturing her.
Hey,
Yeah. And me divided up making calls. When I say we divided it up, between the two of them, they did probably almost 200 and I did 15. I hate that. I'm not good at anyway. And then we did that because we were in communication with John Brown, the director at that time. And yep, we came to the conclusion there's absolutely nothing that can be done without major rule changes. So, but at any rate, you know, that was playing from within. You know, it'd be like working with Jeff Brown on making calls for him and getting all the information to him. You know, so we did do that, and that was disappointing because, you know, it's an adventure trying to get one by at a hospital. You know, it really is. I mean, good vape that doesn't smell too bad, I would think, is pretty somewhat easy. You know. However,
New Jersey MedMan says, we're all grown-ass men.
Yeah.
Says, we're all grown-ass men. We should be able to have disputes, varying opinions, and move past.
yeah, amen. Well, it does start with the need to recognize the possibility of it being wrong. And I don't know if this ever happened to you. It's happened at least a couple times, where I had a solid memory of something. And it's not like somebody else says, no, it wasn't that way. And I go, oh, I forgot. It was like about a picture or something verifiable. And then when I confronted when I saw it, I wish I could remember exactly what it was, I'd tell you. But it really, you know, it set me back because it's like, no, that's, well, there it is. But, well, there it is. And it really shook me. And I seriously, since then, I've always realized that it sometimes you remember something wrong. It actually happened to me. So I'm never going to say I'm 100% right about anything. I always ask myself the same gruesome philosophical question. Would I do this if, never mind what I imagine might happen to me? It's every guy's biggest nightmare. Yeah, I would bet almost anything on it. It's never with a surety. So I think what MedMan said was like, and every man's view of what would be a solid philosophy. If you can't get by something, you get stuck there, and then you start putting too much energy there, and you only got so much to give and get things done. And I don't know.
New Jersey MedMan says, I believe most dispensaries have curbside pickup for those that need access. And yeah, they do. However, just like I told the lady up in Maplewood, I said, you like to browse, don't you? Well, so do we. We like to browse. And we want to browse. So just get us in the front door with the wheelchair, and we'll figure it out from there. Because people like to browse. They want to go inside.
Well, apparently, if you were at the White Horse Cafe in Philadelphia when Cheryl was there, then you would have known the steps it had to be, 4 people carry her up. And, it never really occurred to me. I mean, it was like a brownstone. There was no way access would, I can't imagine how they would have done it. But that they did that was awesome. And my only regret is I played that joke on him because I told you it was really cold and Cheryl was laying back in her wheelchair. And Afghans were good because it didn't restrict your breathing, but they offered some more. So she had 2 Afghans over her. And when I pulled up and these 4 people came, and I guess somebody else, and it's me and Cheryl, and they're still up on the steps. And I saw, here, let me introduce you to Cheryl, and I pulled the first one down. And there's just another Afghan. I looked, oh man, I forgot Cheryl. And they didn't laugh. They not only didn't laugh, it looks like a couple of them totally couldn't believe what just happened, And I do that because the first thing they heard was Cheryl chortling like that underneath the Afghan, thinking it was pretty funny. But at any rate, hey, she'd have really liked the work you're doing. I'll tell you that. Where were you then? Where was it? Where was your equivalent back then? There wasn't one.
Judy Human. So MedMan says they show you pictures on a tablet when you go to a dispensary. You actually don't browse. Well, kinda.
I'd like to smell it.
Yeah, you can't smell it.
Well, that's important to me.
Can't touch it.
I could do without touching it, but I need to smell it. I don't need to. I'm just saying if I really want a full opinion.
That's how I bought weed my whole life. I smelled it. I was on a couch with a TV and a coffee table, and I would smell the weed and touch it and smoke it and say, yeah, this is good. I'm buying this.
They could actually afford to go the other way and have a bud out that you're allowed to squish, and then have something like a full book of matches that you can pick up with one finger. So it's sticky. You see, that would be a selling point, wouldn't it?
I don't know why we can't do that in New Jersey. It's so weird.
Well, we all
Can't smell it?
We all
Can't put
start out-
holes in the jar? Put some holes in the jar for me.
We started out being regulated by Governor Christie and his people, meaning we took a big step backwards, and it took from where we could have been right in the beginning, even before it got to him with no home girl. But one way that he wasted 6 months easily was that he wanted to make sure that if we're going to have dispensaries, that state workers wouldn't be subject to sanctions by the federal government for dealing with a Schedule I substance with no medical value. Now, we all knew by then that there was a moratorium on anything like that going on federally, but still, he was able to do it, and it basically didn't talk about anything for 6 months during the regulatory process. The system, we didn't go on. We did it like we have to do things consecutively rather than currently. So many ways to stall something if you don't want it, whether you're the DEA or legislators. So anyway, I'm going to see if I can have a little fun, at least, with Senator James Holsapple, having dealt with him since 1994, ever since he became a freshman assemblyman appointed to a vacant seat. And, let him know up front, yes, you're going to be getting similar letters from other constituents who feel the same way about home grow and this bill not being heard, and we'll all ask that he confront Senate President Scutari, who should be his nemesis. He should be a check and a balance on the majority Senate president. So basically, he could stand up for the information, not for the bill. He could say, if I have to vote now, I'll vote against that. But I want to know what it is I'm voting against, too. I don't want to be ignorant of any reaction. That's bullshit. But he could say that bullshit and say, so I'm calling on you to allow Senator Vitelli to post that bill. Now, what's Scutari going to do? Say no to, Now, I don't think James Holsapple has that kind of vision where he could think, you know what? We have a proven history back to, I wrapped up their office to look like a Christmas present with a scroll of 250 feet around it, saying what I wanted to say, and a 3-foot wide banner across the front doorway in front of the building. But it was the day before Thanksgiving and nobody was there that day. We thought maybe we'd end up getting in trouble if somebody had to walk out and duck under that. But, with all that, and with all the pictures that, anybody should have seen by now, Cheryl sitting in her wheelchair outside of the 10th District office saying that Dave Wolf and at the time Andy Ciesla and Assemblyman then Holsapple are liars. So she'd do that. And then, of course, I took out an ad in the newspaper offering $257, I think it was, in some sense, for anybody that could arrange or facilitate a conversation with James Holsapple on this, knowing nobody could, but I offered a reward, and it was pretty cool. I can post a copy of that. I got a picture. They did a little scroll thing like it was actually that. But the point is, with all that history, why would he not want to try to show that I was wrong about him by actually helping a bill be heard? Because yes, information's important, and it's an important part of the process, and it shouldn't be blocked for 3 years by the majority. I'll write a speech for him. Oh, I just got a bad shiver thinking of that. Actually, the last time I saw him, I hadn't seen him with his mustache shaved off, and I was at a Wawa on Thomas River on Route 37, just east of Hooper Avenue. And we passed each other. I was walking across the part of the parking lot to the door, and he had just left and was stepping out into that part. And I looked, and he walked right by me. It looked like he didn't have a thought in the world that it was me, And then I realized it was him. I was pretty sure, but rather than yell out his name, I yelled out, Diane Riportella. That was her name. That was the ALS patient that was on the back of it, and I was scolding him. And I was loud. The entire parking lot of really one of the most crowded Wawas anywhere, the entire parking lot came to a standstill, all except one man walking over to his car. He couldn't have held a sign. He's yelling at me to inform anybody better than not to look at me like he couldn't hear me, because he was, at the time I started saying Diane Riportella. I was kind of pissed that she was scared and having an ALS, and she knows that she really helped being in Trenton, and it was her day to celebrate the bill being passed in the assembly. And he was the 30 seconds to speak against it guy, and he didn't turn around to the 3 patients on the floor at the back. Everybody else turns around when they're introduced on the floor. They're introduced as being there, and he was busy just jotting down notes. He didn't bother to look at them. That's why I did that. It was sweet. Sorry, I did take a little bit of a cookie edible, and quite nice actually. I make good cookie. So, do we have a quorum?
I'm rolling up a blunt of Sub-Zero and Red Pop.
What am I having? Strawberry cake? Nah. Yeah, I think that was it.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I roll it in the Chong roller, which makes a cone-ish blunt. Not a cone, but cone-ish. It's amazing. When it works. And it worked. She's a beauty.
Ooh, look at that.
It's a beauty. All right. Usually microwave it for about 8 seconds. Be right back. I'm going to go microwave this thing for 8 seconds.
What does that do?
Just dries it up, makes it nice and tight.
I don't dispute it. I have to have a
I had her
single.
opened up in probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, town looks deserted without you there. Oh, man. Schedule 3 and me.
All right.
You know, I consider Schedule 3 to offer a pathway to what I would be calling an informational suppository for people. Where, with it being in Schedule 3, the old arguments had, now with it being found less dangerous, and all the things that will be quotable, is an informational suppository would being you get to shove it where the sun don't shine when you verbalize it to somebody. You know it.
Okay. I want to know what's wrong with putting it in the microwave for literally 8 seconds just to dry it. Why do you say yuck to that? What's wrong with that? I don't have a problem with that. It's not decarbing it. And if it does, it's just a slight decarb, and that's so what? It just tightens the blunt up really nice. 8 seconds. And it's only 8 seconds. One turn. I think it helps. I've seen Medman roll blunts in his hand in the wind at the State House with one hand. So he is definitely a blunt expert.
We saw a lot of that with the couple of hippie tribe members and at that court case, Willie Beamer's thing.
Okay.
I'd never seen anybody just crush it up in their hand and then.
Yeah. All right. 8 seconds though. It says microwaves are for warming plates. If it's quality flour, you are just cooking off terpenes. If you were cooking it, yeah. But Marina says microwaves are bad too. But why? I want a reason why. You're cooking off terpenes on a small level, very tiny level, not really noticeable. I don't feel you notice a difference. I mean, you could just leave it and just just let it dry naturally. I'm sure it's better. However, I'm kind of in a rush. I want to smoke this thing.
Well, it is true, but it's, I'm trying to relate it to something, and it right away popped in my head that we have a certain amount of arsenic in our drinking water. There's, however it's measured, there's arsenic. It's everything, and then they found out about the pressure treating process for lumber. They had to change that because the original one was like, oh, the runoff has a certain content. But when I read the numbers, I was surprised at how infinitesimal it is. So it did, but yet a certain amount was legal, I guess, although I got to agree, if I had what you had, I don't know that I would put it in a microwave.
Well, don't they radiate cannabis in the dispensaries if it's moldy?
I don't know.
They put it through a radiation machine to radiate it for mold.
I'm not
it's legal.
scared.
It's legal to do that.
I mean, if it was about me, I don't really care. But it just seems that the fact I didn't even know that should be more widely known. I mean, it's people's right to go, holy crap, if it's been irradiated, I don't want it, Yeah. Depends how bad you want something,
You can't pressure treat wood in the United States. Pressure treated wood, sawdust, is hazmat, hazardous material.
Yeah. Well, they have pressure treated lumber. I bought some.
Yeah, if you're going to radiate your cannabis, you just shouldn't be smoking it. But dispensers are giving you radiated cannabis. I'm not sure they were even telling you. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do here in New Jersey with this program. It used to be patient focused. It's not patient focused anymore.
When was it?
It was supposed to be. They said it was.
No, it was supposed to be, but
that's what they said. I'm using their words.
If it was going to be patient focused, patients had little to no input all along the way. And yeah, those who would get to the War Memorial Auditorium to show up at the first times, they would do that.
Yeah, they did that. Remember the parade of the Dog and Pony Show of sick and dying people? They paraded in front of that committee. Hi, my son has this. Can you give cannabis to him for this? And hi, my daughter has this. Can you please help my daughter? But hi, I have this, and I'm dying. Can you help me? It was like this parade.
Do you remember a guy? I don't remember his name, but he had a deformity of his hands and feet, but mostly I think it was his feet. And he took his shoe off and held up his foot. It was to express like a show and tell, and they instantly pull tight. What an effect! Patients showing up. See, that's also why I think the hearing for home grow could really, really rock, because I think there's a lot of patients that would show up, especially if they needed help. Imagine that. I mean, you finally have a say after all this. Come on, that's gonna be sweet.
I'll take a Dog and Pony Show. Hey, you want to grow weed in New Jersey? Come prove how sick you are. Come out in your wheelchair to the War Memorial and parade yourself in front of our committee and tell us how sick you are and you deserve home grow. And maybe we'll give you home grow. Yay!
Hey, you're the last one to really talk to Nick Scutari about this at all, face to face. How do you feel about him saying, I can see it happen medically for a very strict number of patients who are the most sick and most hurt? Now, how do you feel about that in a situation that our Senate president envisions, if we were going to do it, if you had stage 2 cancer, you might not be eligible
you only have
because you're not sick enough. you only get it at stage 3 or 4.
You grow weed, not
come on.
stage 2. What are you, nuts? You can't
It-
grow weed at
yeah.
stage 2.
But see, this
How
is
dare you
something.
say
This
that?
is something he's mentioned, and he did it. Also mentioned it on New Jersey, Spotlight, New Jersey. Brianna Vannozzi. It's what he said. It's you can see him, you can watch him and hear him saying it, and he said that, and that indicates exactly. I mean, there's a man that's been in the way of it, is relying on I'll get out of the way if we do as little as possible. That's going to get volatile quick.
Oh, you got progressive MS? You can grow weed. You have regular MS? No, you can't grow weed. Oh, you have diabetes, type 1. All right, yeah. Type 2? No, only type 1.
Well, then his mom could grow because of her MS, and I would never bring up his mother except for he brings her up. So yeah, she's a patient who can apparently afford it more than a lot of people. I wonder if she knows how her son's behaving.
His grandma grew it. I know somebody who saw it, who saw that weed. She actually talked about it on the podcast. She was very proud of her cannabis plants, Scutari's grandma. Is that a phone? Is that me?
No, that could be me. I can't see it though. Oh, I didn't think of muting it. Sorry about that. Hold on. No, wait, I have something to say now.
Take the call on the air. Go ahead. I dare you. I do that all the time.
Well, let's see. Cheryl and I were married in 1984, but didn't find out about cannabis being good for MS till late 1999. So, it's 15 years. That it was there and I didn't know it. So, I got a little bit of something going on in my head all the time about that. And I didn't know. The extent of spasticity she had, I would have never believed cannabis would relieve that because I use it all the time, and it never made me feel that kind of loose. So, I really had no idea, and it wasn't being postulated anywhere. I'd never heard of somebody even say that. That'd be the first thing I'd look up. I tried 19 different things, had a list, and it was like, there really wasn't much left. So, I don't know. It just seems important that there's still patients that don't understand how good it could be, And then there's something else on, if I would want to see something done now that it's legal. It seems like somebody should have benefactor type money that understands how good this can be for cancer, but they need it in a specific form. We'll start with RSO as an example. And should that not be free to somebody who needs it? Could somebody make that happen, like in a state? You realize how groundbreaking that would be? Yet, at least with it coming down to Schedule 3, stuff like that will be easier to run by people because once, cancer affects all families probably. And, to know that's possible, we also know it's going to happen to somebody in our own family if you live long enough. Where do you go? Where'd you go? Now, obviously, I'm lucky there are people that I cross paths with that are more than generous, understand that, but on a singular basis. So anyway, that'd be like a really cool charity to pick up some people have a money when this all happens, for somebody. I'm allowed a little pie in the sky after 33 years of getting stepped on.
Looks like I have to do some grant writing. I have to learn how to do it, get some templates, get some examples, and start grant writing because it doesn't seem like we're going to get it done unless I do it. So I'm going to have to learn how to grant write.
Yeah. It,
I can have AI
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
it's gonna
AI
take you away from other things. It shouldn't have to be you doing that. You're pretty stretched. I know. At least Ken Walsky could advise you on how you might do that, having written a grant proposal or Ed Hahn, and certainly you might look to him for advice. Like, how would I go about doing this? I mean, the fact that you went through the whole thing of getting a 501c3, a lot of people would have been against you doing that, and here you are. Now you're asking to write grant proposals. Well,
Yeah, that's next. We gotta step up our game with grant writing. And here we go. Listen to this. New Jersey MedMan didn't know about cannabis activism in New Jersey until he heard Jim Miller on the weekend show Grunin did on 101.5. When was that? That was a while ago.
It had to be. So, God, I was on a lot of stuff. I mean, like a lot of stuff. There was nobody else though. Actually, if you want to go back far enough, if they wanted somebody open and honest about breaking all the law and why, medical use, we were it. I was surprised one day. I was going to get the hard copy at the news store, and I saw a title like MS patient in marijuana, and it wasn't Cheryl. It was the first time it was somebody else. Yet it was somebody with that 3/4 from behind picture. We'll call her Rose. It wasn't somebody willing to be, here's who I am, like the example that still couldn't. It's where I started pushing for people to understand you don't really have a target on your back then.
It was a long time ago.
Look on YouTube, PSA. I might say Jim Miller, but the coalition did a bunch of them, and one of them was "Get Over It." I was really tired of people knowing better, and yet, I mean, okay, if somebody said, "Look, I'm a teacher, and I can't be real open about it." Yes, that makes perfect sense. But some people, it was just, like somebody would be watching. It was. Maybe that's why, after all that, and having been part of it, especially the hardest, where long before this kind of connectivity, doing some of my best work using microfilm at the public library before there were any computers there. I love it that we have what we have at our disposal to hold people accountable, now. And even what I was doing earlier is I just start looking up things with Scutari keywords.
Care deeply about people who have MS and to treat the symptoms. If you have multiple sclerosis, or you know somebody that does, this message is for you. There's a man named John Wilson who also has multiple sclerosis. He was growing marijuana so that he could treat its symptoms. He got caught. He went to court, and he's to be sentenced February 5th. The judge needs to hear from MS patients. Judge Reed can be contacted through the Coalition for Medical Marijuana's website at cmmnj.org. They can help you know what you need to do. Judge Reed needs to not only know how marijuana helps your symptoms if you have MS, he needs to hear what it's like when you don't. Because John's not going to have marijuana in a best case scenario for years. MS may take him for a ride. The judge needs to know that should be his only sentence, that he should not do 1 day's time. Get in touch with Judge Reed through CMMNJ. Help John, and in turn, this will help all MS patients who have this problem down the road.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that wasn't one where I was like calling people out, yelling, get over it. But I hadn't seen that one. Actually didn't remember a lot of it. I liked it.
You call people out?
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Maybe it's this one. Hold on. Maybe it's this one.
Yeah, I have a brown shirt on. I even remember. I saw it like 3 or 4 months ago. Sometimes I go back and look at myself to be inspired. How sick is that?
Now,
I heard how this sounded. Yeah, that's it.
doing something about it since 1993. Maybe because I had a wife dying of MS and it was that important to me. But I think people want to do things now that don't need to know somebody that's dying. There's a Coalition for Medical Marijuana website where you can go and send a pre-written letter to your legislator and show that concern. It's that simple. You go to cmmnj.org and fill out your appropriate information. That letter will be sent to where it needs to go. It seems there's a problem that some people think that if you do that for medical marijuana, you're going to be on some sort of list and somebody might be watching you. Get over it. It's not going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen, get over it. It's not going to happen. Get over it. Get over it. Get over it. It's not gonna happen. The only thing that's gonna happen is you get to help save somebody's life. If you want to know why medical marijuana hasn't happened in New Jersey now, all we need to do is look into the mirror and ask, what have I done to show my support for medical marijuana patients lately? If the answer is nothing, you have to do something now. Go to cmmnj.org, click and send a pre-written letter to your legislator in support of medical marijuana. You will not be on a list. You will help save somebody's life.
Damn, I had some style back in the day. What the hell?
Woo!
You know, I can still do stuff like that. If we only knew somebody that did videos. Oh, I'm getting together with Chris one day. I'm making it up his neck of the woods.
Oh yeah, we gotta. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do that, but it's like that just actually inspired me. He really wants. He's looking forward to what we might be able to do. You know,
We're having a burn up cleanup June 2nd, Sunday.
Really, I was supposed to get advance warning.
Yeah, I just found out about it. It's a Sunday, June 2nd or 3rd. That's Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Well, it would be a second. The first is Saturday. That's Morristown Day.
So it's the second.
Oh, fuck. Maybe.
Burn up, clean up, cleaning up your town.
I got to see that. Damn.
It's fun.
It's far away.
It's far away. You know, I drive an hour and 20 minutes to Trenton.
Yeah, I know.
From Morris County.
That's far away.
Sometimes I stop in Bayonne.
I'm here in an hour 45 from where I am. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You get the right mild edible, it goes right by. No radio necessary, just the carnival in my head and me going down the road. I'm good. Serious. I haven't fixed my radio in years because of that. I enjoy that. I do my best introspection on Route 70 when I go to Tom's River every Sunday.
All right. Well, we didn't get a quorum tonight, but we definitely had our meeting. So we're going to have these regardless of our quorum or not. So nothing to vote on tonight anymore. Good.
Yeah, I want to. It was interesting, MedMan. I remember hearing about people leaving cannabis for Jim and Cheryl at random spots. Yeah, you know, that did happen. It was such a compelling story, but the quickest version of what I really thought was cool was I was on Ocean County Radio 1. Is it 1027 now? Or yeah, WOBM. Bob Levy's Topic A on Sunday morning. You call and you talk about something. And I called in and I talked about what I talked about back then. And Bob Levy was so, well, you should do that. I did. Well, you could write your congressman. I got a letter back. I don't have it in front of me. It's like everything he said, and he ended up saying, "This is ridiculous. It's not. Is there anybody that can help?" Is just trying to get. Basically, he's asked over a radio show if anybody could help us to call the radio station, and then he actually said, "Yeah, my whatever the show guy, he'll give it to me. He won't look at it. He won't remember it if you have to tell him whatever." It was. I thought he was kidding, and so he said, "We're just trying to help a sick person or whatever." Now Cheryl was right there, but she couldn't hear it, and I put the radio back on, and then she could hear him talking about it. When he said, "Yeah, Jim, yeah, I've had a call. I'll talk to you in the morning," or something like that. So in the morning, Bob Levy called me at 7 a.m. and he said, "You live in Silverton. You know where the A&P is?" Yes, I do. Behind the A&P, there's 3 rocks under the middle rock. And he hung up the phone. And I'm like, "Cheryl, let me give you your morning medicine now, because I don't know what the hell is going on here." Yeah, it was like we were real close to there. So I went back, and there's 3 rocks, and under one there was about a half an ounce, and it had a typewritten note said, "The law can be such an ass," or something, And I went back, and he faced disciplinary shit at the station that he'd been with for like forever, But that's who he was there. But anyway, I don't know, a year or 2 later, my brother Rick and Australian friend Paul had finished playing 18 rounds of golf at Bailey Golf Course, and they were at the 19th hole, elbows up at the bar. And Rick on the other side of Paulie, this guy's facing from the outside, facing away, talking about, "Yeah, so I called the radio station." Yeah, it was the guy that left it was telling a friend of his at the bar. And Rick heard that. And he said, "Yeah, so I hit it behind the A&P." And Rick looks up and goes, "3 rocks under the middle rock." And the guy looked like he was going to have a heart attack. It didn't compute to him how somebody could know that anyway. How small of a world was that? Just work that in there, But yeah, that happened, and we would get it in the mail. And then there was a guy that I would meet up in Hoboken, outside, where they have the little, you have coffee and stuff outside shops and whatever. And he would have a brown paper bag and have like a half a pound of what you could cook with. And I would go through the half a pound and pick out little tiny buds that got by, And I'd have a little something, but then I would make up Cheryl's green butter. That was it. Don't need a double boiler. You can put one pot in another pot and make some pretty good butter following the old rules. And green butter was good. Take like a pill, to cool down, to recongeal. You put it in a certain amount in the bottom of a bag, and depending how you put it in the refrigerator, it would be like long and slender. And then you could use scissors before it was like real hard and cut it up like pills. And it's butter. It doesn't need a capsule. It goes down real easy. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, homegirl, man. It's been a long, strange trip. I want it to be over for me. It will be when homegirl's there. And then I won't feel obligated anymore.
Yeah, the plant is not legal. It's not legal. If a cancer patient goes to jail for a plant, it's not legal.
If it's
They
pop,
make $1 billion. They're
Yeah.
making $1 billion this year.
Well, also, okay, now that we're talking about Schedule 3, I'd like to know what New Jersey's plans are to revisit penalties for this plant, whether it be possession, amount, or growing. The penalties are going to be even more out of line now. So it's a perfect time to update all the penalties and all the ways you can look at them. And my guess is, gee, they're not doing that. Why? I mean, it's when they make new rules, they have to update uh, other statutes. That's part of the whole. When you read it, this will change this, which is already a statute and such stuff. I don't like to read through. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
That man, I'm a patient in need, by the way. I'm definitely a patient in need. I need some live rosin. It's very expensive, and I don't mind paying for it, but
Yeah.
I'll
I
pay
got
for
to
the
tell you,
cheap live rosin.
man, you've earned a reputation as being exactly what you say there. You definitely. I'm not talking about just me. Have been there not just for patients, but you don't make them feel uncomfortable about being able to accept your help. And I got to say, a lot of times that's an important part to patients. So good for you, man. And thank you for past times that I'm talking about. Yeah.
I wish I had some weed to hide in a pole or hide in a bush over here. Those are fun. And weed hunts.
Oh.
The Wawa was the big one. People would hide stuff in Wawas. Wasn't that a big one? Inside by the candy, behind the candy or something. People are crazy.
Yeah, but mostly, I know MedMan will obviously agree. In situations where you are in a healthcare situation and you can't have the cannabis that you need, or at least you have to be really tricky about getting any of that, is so counterproductive to health that we have recognized in New Jersey by way of our program, and now with the hopeful scheduling of down to 3, does sort of invite hopefully potential of institutional uh, settings where there's some consideration of some sort. It's never going to be what it should be, but I mean, just let's start with the idea. Yeah, you're allowed to go out and consume it over under this gazebo, where people use cigarettes at the hospital. Well, I mean, they're all campus smoke free now, but even then, what about vape? What about all that? It's got to get integrated. It's amazing because it is something that has so few counter indications to it that you don't want to mix cannabis and what. The only thing that I would caution people on is if you have low blood pressure to begin with, you might want to be careful because that could actually lower your blood pressure still. I mean, but that would be probably more for the rapid onset effect where that could happen, at that moment. And it would be so useful. It's like it's the collision of two kinds of medicine in effect, And I had cause to lay it out for somebody in a comment. The comment section on the Yahoo News feed says leave a comment. I leave comments. I would never, when somebody, say, oh, so-and-so liked your comment. I do it to work my shit out, like if it were some sort of slow motion debate, I needed the exact right thing to say. And I don't know, it's just gotten easier now. I'm so anxious to rub Schedule 3 up, where the sun don't shine with people that need it. That I want to be the one to make the argument that the reason, and it's cannabis is a legal indication under the program for for anxiety as an example, and It should be something offered for opiates, though. When somebody needs pain relief, and they have need for it, you got to feel sorry for what actually puts somebody on the doctor's radar for you're going to need some opiates here, and we're going to prescribe you some for when you go home. At that point, should they not have the offer for an adjunct medicine, cannabis, in whatever form they would choose to do this? I mean, at that integration of that and opioids, because you need less of both. When they can embrace and understand that, which is not that hard to prove, or it kind of has been, but it's never the acceptable gold standard proof for any. While it's Schedule 1, it will be while it's Schedule 3. I'm looking forward to this smaller studies that opens up. I don't know what it opens up, but I know it's not worse. And I understand, that, hey, well, Big Pharma is going to jump in. Hell yeah, they are. They sure as hell are. But if that doesn't stand, it's not a reason for it not to happen. It's a reason to beware of it and figure out how to minimize that. But patients, they get to grow their own. Somebody will help them. People are going to feel good about knowing how to grow stuff. Who would adopt a patient, and be their grower, because the state will have the same kind of caregiver system they do for that, as they're used to for having a caregiver at all. And that person can physically help, and then with minimum visit, somebody else can keep it up. I mean, if a person doesn't live by himself, it's more or less something that anybody that's ever grown already knows. It's the wonder of watching a plant grow, and how it grows, and everything it goes through to get to the form you're used to. That really elevates your chance for if you're like recovering or just trying to last as long as you can. That in itself should be integral. So I'd actually have to learn quite a bit about homegrown myself before I would be qualified to help anybody, but I sure as hell would. Oh,
Good man, how you feeling?
Yeah, just fighting off this nasty infection in my back.
yeah. How's it going? Draining fluid still?
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to be specific, but thanks for showing up.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
You've been in there for a while.
A week and a half.
Wow.
So what's the prognosis? I hate to be the one to ask, but I know it's going to be on anybody's mind. Do you have even a guess for how long you may be there?
Nah, once it stops draining, they'll send me.
Yeah.
I tested positive for Mercy, so I'm stuck here in isolation.
Well,
Yeah, MRSA's bad. My grandma had that a few times in there.
When they cut me open, they drained a little more than a half a liter of fluid out of my back.
Wow.
is that a general anesthesia? I mean, were you out, or was it
No.
like on your side? Like,
Yeah.
Did anybody go wow or whoo or?
Oh yeah,
things
yeah.
They're not supposed to say things like that, Like,
So,
holy crap!
So the problem is when they gave me an MRI and they did a sonogram, they didn't see actual pockets of fluid. It was all trapped in the tissue.
Oh,
So they let it go for a couple of days, and then the surgeon was like, you know what? Let me cut a couple drains. He goes, if I get any fluid out, it'll give you some relief. And as soon as he cut me open, it was like a waterfall.
blah. Damn.
It felt better though right away, right?
Yeah. Within like 12 hours of them first cutting the drains, it was like when I laid down, my head, if I was laying flat, my head was 3 inches off of the mattress. It's right up by my shoulder blades.
Oh man.
Then they keep me extra time because they're worried because it's right there by my spine and shit. So
Jeez. Well, I'm glad to see you're up and up, or at least up and around. Wow.
I'll be good tomorrow. Tomorrow I got delivery coming.
Nice.
We're out of edibles and the fucking battery died on my vape. So
Damn. You know, I stopped my camera and took 2 quick ones, but then my coughing gave me away. But I just didn't feel like smoking in front of you. I don't, you know, I can do that.
oh fuck that.
Then I outed myself by coughing. And then when you feel that cough coming, it's a race to get that icon on mute and hit it before you can't.
If I can't enjoy myself, it's good to see other people being able to enjoy themselves.
Well, it's nice that we have a Tuesday little playhouse that can also double as a serious board meeting. But I like the ability to just keep in the kind of contact we keep in, because things can accelerate when, you know, you can maybe see it coming a little better when you stay in close touch with each other.
I'm grateful you guys got this going on. It's just able to pass the time, man.
Oh, yeah, I know how shitty that can be. So, feel for you.
Can only watch so much news.
Yep. News and TikTok.
Oh, right. I'll tell you, there's just some amazing stuff that I'll see that I question. You know, I always knew, having, you know, been 71, that the day would come when everybody's going to have video of so many things. And now, you know, you look at a concert and everybody's got a phone out. It's like, oh, it's like, man, I feel like a relic from the past for sure, you know. And but it's awesome, the things then that I can see that actually, and a lot of times it's just animal stuff or whatever, or a gorilla and its little young, and it's the weird, you know. Yeah, it's pretty yeah, let you know some things are possible, and challenge myself a little more.
I got to jump out of here. They coming in here to run tests. It was good talking to you guys. Thanks again.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Hopefully I'll see you Thursday.
Hopefully, I'm hoping.
No way. I hope so.
I'm hoping if I'm out of here, I'll be out there.
All right, you know.
I'll be out there fighting them opiate withdrawals.
Oh, man.
All right.
Right on, brother.
Have a good night, guys.
You too,
All right,
man.
man. Take it easy.
God bless. Hey, Jim, I second that, and we're going to get out of here.
Okay.
I'll catch you. See you Thursday, bro.
Yeah, man. Same time, same place.
Yep. See you all at the State House on Thursday, 11/11. We'll be out there.
You never know what's going to happen.
That's right. All right, man. Good night.
All right.